1936, when His Eminence Eugenio Cardinal Pacelli arrived in America, he said that the purpose of his visit was to see a great people who know how to unite so beautifully and nobly a sense of discipline with the exercise of a just, legitimate, and well-ordered liberty. We Americans do acknowledge in the Declaration of Independence that the Creator God, in whose image every human being is made, is the source of all our rights and duties, our freedoms and responsibilities, and our equality in His sight. On October 29, 1936, at the Burbank Airport in California, a child representing the first company Bellarmine Jefferson Guards was blessed by His Eminence, whom they later saluted as their Cardinal Chaplain. The Holy Father has continued to show through apostolic blessings his personal interest in the activities of the Guards.
Bellarmine Jefferson Guards. Today, on the 10th anniversary of his blessing the Bellarmine Jefferson Guards of Burbank Airport, we are unveiling the coat of arms of His Holiness on the wall of America's first Bellarmine Jefferson High School. Agitorium nostrum in nomine Domini.
The children are proud of the trust placed in them by the Holy Father in granting permission for his coat of arms to be placed on the wall of their parish school. The words, "Peace is the work of justice," will be the same challenge to these children as they were to the Holy Father when, as a child, he read them on the facade of his parish church. In the sun-swept valley of San Fernando, nestling at the foot of the majestic Sierra Madre Range, is our church of St. Robert Cardinal Bellarmine of the Society of Jesus. To this valley in the long ago, Father Sarah and his brown-robed friars came, telling the Indians of the freedom wherewith Christ has made man free. More recently, this soil has been sanctified by the footprints of America's first citizen saint, Mother Frances Xavier Cabrini. On her visits to Burbank, Mother Cabrini attended Mass in the old church. Here, where the shrine is built, her prayers are being fulfilled daily, as children kneel in devotion to Mary Immaculate and her mother, St. Anne, the Judean mother of the Old Law, who is also a saint of the New. Guided by the example of St. Cabrini, the Guards go to worship in the Mass. They are inspired by her as she looks down on them from her window, and they are convinced of her personal interest in their crusade for faith and freedom. Occasionally, one will linger to reverently touch the wood from the original doors of the old church that her holy hands had so often touched. In tribute to Washington's belief in religious education for American citizenship, a cross rises from a cupola that is a replica of the one at Mount Vernon, home of the father of our country. St. Robert Bellarmine School, the first in the nation to organize youth for Americanism around the personalities of Bellarmine and Jefferson, originated this plaque. With the words, "In God we trust," the children learn that it is the American way to believe in God. On either side of the shield of the United States are placed the medallions of Bellarmine and Jefferson to teach the children the harmony that exists between Catholicism and Americanism. Thomas Jefferson is honored on the right because he is the author of the Declaration of Independence, in which is conceived the soul of America. This soul justifies the prayer. St. Robert Bellarmine, defender of human rights, pray for America. The Bellarmine Jefferson Guards were formed to dramatize the teachings of St. Robert Bellarmine and St. Thomas Aquinas on political philosophy. Bellarmine used the principles of the natural and the divine law, as found in Aquinas, against the totalitarian Germany and England of his day. 200 years later, these saints must have whispered to Thomas Jefferson that political right is immediately from God and necessarily inherent in the nature of man. The following statements, like many others, show the harmony in the reasoning of these three men. Nature, said Aquinas, made all men equal in liberty, though not in their natural perfections. Bellarmine taught all men are equal, not in wisdom or grace, but in the essence and nature of mankind. Jefferson wrote, all men are created equal, They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. It is hoped that the association of Bellarmine and Jefferson as guarding twin principles will enable children to recognize in Catholicism the friend, not the enemy, of Americanism. So the guards are taught that the first lesson of the Catholic Catechism, namely, man is a creature composed of body and soul and made in the image and likeness of God. That is Americanism, too. Under the direction of their teachers, the Sisters of Charity, Blessed Virgin Mary, emphasis is placed on that fundamental of Christian and social education, namely, that Americans can live as friends without sacrifice of racial or religious ideals. Best of all, their teachers enlist them in the militia of Mary Immaculate, clothed with her scapular and armed with her rosary, for her miracle over Russia. Love of God and love of country are the two noblest motives that can inspire a human act. Add to this the love of our fellow man, made in God's image, and we have a symphony of life. These ideals were deep-rooted in Bellarmine and Jefferson. Here in the church named for St. Robert, we see this meaning in its design. Its very door copies the main door of the Gregorian University in Rome, of which he was president. St. Robert's coat of arms supplants Pope Gregory's. Acknowledging the protection which America gives the Christian and Judean conscience, the American eagle and the shield are shown guarding the cross in the tablets of the law. On the keystone of the arch is the Crusaders' flag, the flag of the popes, to remind the gods of their crusade for Americanism. As we pass through the entrance, on our left is the baptistry showing the baptismal font, modeled after the one in which Pope Pius XII was baptized. Here, in baptism, the soul of man begins to grow into the likeness of God. The timeliness of our education and the God-given rights of man is made more evident by the apparition in our day of Our Lady of the Rosary at Fatima. Our Lord has entrusted to her the task of bringing Russia back to God. The children are reminded of their part in the renewal of society by this painting of Our Lady of Fatima as she appeared to the children in Portugal. Anxious to please the desires of Our Lady for the reconstruction of society, the guards pray daily for the conversion of Russia. Above this side altar, the guards learn the dignity of labor as embraced by Christ the worker. Our Lady of Guadalupe is an inspiration to our Mexican children. When the daughter of David appeared in the likeness of a Mexican maiden, the solidarity of the human race was proven. Through the 16th century door of Catalonian Spain, the priest passes daily to the sanctuary of St. Robert, a symbolic reminder of the Spanish priests who first brought Mass to the New World. Political right is from God and necessarily inherent in the nature of man. These words appear over and over again in the writings of St. Robert Bellarmine. Therefore, enthroned in this sanctuary, our patron saint intercedes continually in heaven for the defense of human rights in the world. Since St. Robert wished to be buried near St. Aloysius Gonzaga, the portrait of the patron of youth hangs near the statue of his father confessor. Symbolic of the similarity in their political philosophy, the facade of St. Robert's Church is modeled after the one of Thomas Jefferson's home. As the years pass and the guards grow to high school age, the fruits of our education and religion and leadership are evident in their daily devotions. Thomas Jefferson said, "The Bible is the cornerstone to liberty." His philosophy of Americanism had its roots in the Judaic-Christian traditions. Therefore, the Star of David and the cross are united in the cornerstone of the Bellarmine Jefferson High School. This symbol is our weapon against tyranny, whether in government or in industry. It teaches the children that every human being is made in the image of God, and therefore man cannot be made in the image of the state or capital or labor. All men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. This symbol is powerful because it speaks a universal truth. It points to God's own definition of man. No other definition can lift humanity from oppression. Thomas Jefferson made it basic in Americanism. To Genesis we turn to hear God say, "Let us make man in our image." In Moses of the Exodus and David of the Psalms, we salute Israel, alone among the nations of pagan antiquity, faithful in guarding God's definition of man. On the arms of the cross, we refer to the Apostle St. Paul for the Christian confirmation of this pristine truth, which he raised to the higher plane of the doctrine of the mystical body. In the small 12-point star, we symbolize Mary Immaculate as the bridge between the old and the new law. To keep these principles foremost in the minds of the Bellarmine Jefferson guards, each school day is opened and closed with a ritual centered around this symbol of human rights.
Italian attention, march time, march. Forward, march. Present the flag of our country. Colors, salute. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance